Welcome, everyone, to the Player 2 podcast. This is episode 2 with me hosting this time. Last week, we had Toby hosting. The topic of discussion, well, there were multiple topics, but the main one was basically Xbox and their slow decline into irrelevance on the console space. And
Continuing shenanigans.
yeah, they just aren't making the best decisions right now. And honestly, there's a whole bunch going on with that we could make this episode a part two to that. But we're gonna move on and re-enter that conversation at a later date when they make more mishaps. But today, it it's been 2 weeks. We meant to record 1 week after. We wanted to make this a weekly thing, but I think for right now, I think twice every other week works. Um, Once a week is pushing it. We got a lot going on. We're kind of
Well,
busy guys out
nothing is set
here.
in stone. We'll see how it goes.
Exactly. We're figuring it out. We're playing it by ear. But um I want to start off with what we've been doing because I don't want to get into the main topic right now. It's very technical. For some people, it can be a little bit boring. I think we just start off with what we've been doing since. I haven't been playing anything new. I got some new games. I
Fair
got
enough.
Resident Evil 2. I got Resident Evil 3 on PS5. But I'm still on Hades. I'm still on Expedition 33. I want to be very thorough with these games.
And they deserve it
Also
too.
just have no time. They do. They
Yeah.
definitely do. Hades Hades is crazy because it just keeps getting better, which is good. Obviously so, the game wouldn't be as loved if you had to play for as long and didn't get better. It gets better in like almost every way. Um Specifically the characters and the story. I had released a video recently where I said a lot of characters weren't grabbing my attention, but it wasn't until I watched that video after I put it out that I realized I had been playing this game with my brain turned off at the start because there are plenty of characters that I connect with. I mean, there's there's sort of an area where you practice with all the weapons, where you upgrade the weapons and you can get new like weapon aspects, new weapon abilities. And in this area, you can practice with those weapon abilities and you practice on a specific character. This character name is Skelly. He's been hired to help you, so he gets paid to get beat up by you. And the dialogue with him is very dynamic. He can talk to you about your previous runs. He can help you with future runs. And he's kind of a goofball. Um, I've kind of grown a connection with him as you beat on him more, which is really just fucking funny because
That
you
is
can walk up to
that's a
him.
crazy sentence.
Yeah, you can walk up to him, you can talk to him, and he'll be like, "Hey, you got a new weapon aspect. How about that? How about you try that on me, bud?" And he's like, "You seem really excited to get smacked around." And he's like, "Yeah, I get paid to do this. This is literally my job, kid.
Fair
Hit
enough.
me. Shut up. Hit me." So you start hitting him, and then you can like a dummy in like a practice range for if you've ever played like Overwatch or Marvel Rivals, you can go into the practice range, you can kill the dummies, and then they just respawn once they die. He's basically the same way with a whole personality. Stuff like that is dope, but also you can go into a run, you can fight a boss, you can die by that boss or at a later time, and then you can go into the next run, unlock a new ability, a new skill, or a whole new like skill tree, and they will literally acknowledge like something's different about you. Why why do you feel more powerful?
Hmm.
And I think that's interesting. And then you can go in again the next time without any abilities on. You can deselect everything and they will talk to you like, "Oh, you want a challenge this time because you are just you. I can tell that." Okay,
Interesting.
put them up. It's very interesting. I often like to question and wonder about how did they make this? When I watch previs footage for something like Expedition 33, I go, I would like to be in the room to understand how they made this.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say this as a dig, but when I think about Hades' dialogue system and how it's trying to present you with new dialogue every time you go through, my brain gets I feel drunk just trying to think about that because not only do you have to present this story in a very compelling way as if someone's really good and they beat it in like 10 to 20 tries because that's possible. You also have to make it compelling for someone who's going around 100 times. And I said this in my video, the dialogue isn't repetitive. You don't get very many lines twice. And every time you can come back, you can talk to someone, if not multiple people. So there's a lot to be found here. A lot of it isn't the most interesting. I think a lot of the coolness factor is just from finding new things and being like, "Okay, I did just unlock this new aspect," and they talked about it, and now they're teaching me about it, or they're saying how cool it is to have seen it in action finally. There's a specific character that knows how you died because you can there's like ghosts in this game that are the souls of the people in Hades just chilling in the realm. And when you walk up to them, you can see them having conversations with each other, and you can underneath their dialogue, you can see how they died. So people died by like elephant, someone died by like depression, someone died by ice cream, I think. There's just
That's an interesting
random
choice.
stuff, but then you can go up to this character that I mentioned earlier after your run and they can talk to you about how you died. Oh, those pesky traps, you got to watch your footing. Or, oh, those, I don't know the specific name, but for example, Gorgon. You died by a Gorgon. Not many people died by Gorgons. You should feel proud of yourself. Towards the end of the game, towards like, I can't say the end of the game because it never really ends, but towards one of the final bosses, it's interesting. He goes, I can't I can't tell what you died by. It says redacted. What does that mean? And then you fight him again and he goes, "Yeah, I've asked around about this redacted thing. Nobody's been able to tell me what's happening." And it progressively
Interesting.
gets more like, "Oh, okay. I know who you're fighting now. Why are you fighting him? Obviously, I'm fighting him, you know?" So the complexity layered underneath this game to present, I don't want to say simple, but digestible game for the best players and the worst players alike and everybody in between. It's magic. It's literally magic to me. I don't want to think about it. I It's a beautiful game. I saw it at GameStop earlier last week for $20 on PS4 and I wanted to get it just to have a physical version. I think I'm going to wait for that and hope nobody else picks it up, but I'm definitely picking up 2 now. I'm definitely picking up 2 now. Very soon after I finish 1 as well. So that should be exciting, but Expedition 33 I haven't really been playing much of. Just haven't really been sticking with Hades because I could play it for 30 minutes. I could play it for 2 hours. You know, if I got to get up and go somewhere, I can just, all right, I'll pick it up in a bit. Expedition 33, I gotta, it's like a movie, you know,
You gotta
you
finish
gotta sit
Expedition
there and
33 though.
I do. I definitely do. And I will here soon. I've got tonight off. I work nights. So I'm gonna play a shit ton tonight. And I'm probably
Alright,
gonna
alright.
finish it before the week is over. Hopefully, like I said, still at the end of Act 2, starting Act 3, so there's some big stuff to be revealed. I still haven't gotten over 9,999 damage. I still haven't gotten over that cap yet.
Okay.
Would you say I'm still a decent ways away from the end?
No.
Okay.
Um, I'm trying to think of a way you can tell me where you're at without telling me where you're at.
I mean, the game's been out for long enough now. If you haven't played it yet and you're watching, I feel like people who are watching podcasts in general, not just ours, but in general, are more likely to have experienced these things already. They're more likely to have had it spoiled already or played it already. So I'm just gonna say I fought the paintress already, or I
Okay, you're
tried to at
close.
least.
You're
I
close.
I I, I wasn't able to hit her. Um, and then I might have to try and load like an earlier save from like 2 hours before I left off because I'm having a hard time remember. Like that's the last thing I remember, but I know I played more. So yeah, we'll see about that. I'll have more to talk about that in the next episode, obviously,
You're
but
you're getting you're getting very close or pretty close to the ending.
lovely. I don't want it to end. Luckily, I think great time to mention DLC for the game is coming out soon. Uh I think I'll be able to play that before I get the next video out on it, so that'll probably be included in that video, but I still got a lot of game left regardless of the end of the story, I it's fun.
There is a lot
It's a
of post-game
it's a
content. I
fun battle
barely
mechanic.
scratched the surface for it.
I know, like I said, spoilers for Expedition 33. I know SK can fly. I haven't gotten him to fly yet, so I'm still waiting on that. Um, I don't know the main ending. Like I know bits and pieces, like the fact that SK can fly, like the fact that you can get over 9,999 damage, like the fact that there are more outfits to be had. Like I've seen certain outfits, late game outfits, that I'm not necessarily interested in. Like they look cool, but I'm not pressed to get them or anything. But maybe they have a story connection that I've been spoiled on, but I don't know yet. So um I feel like I'm pretty privileged to be walking into the end of this game without, blind, basically. I
No,
love
that's
that.
it's
I
the
love
way
that
to
for
do it.
myself.
It's the way to do it for sure. And yeah, you're just about to finish up Act 2. You will get to have that damage cap removed soon. I would say in terms of where I think you're at, I would say depending on how much extra content you do, I'd say you have about 3 or 4 hours left of the game.
Okay. It's reasonable.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Should be fun.
yeah.
I will be definitely updating you as I'm going.
I mean, it's
It's gonna
it's
be an
it's easily
experience.
easily my game of the year. I've played a good amount of titles this year. Um, I think yeah, I'm almost at 11 new games that have came out this year played because I'm playing through. I've only played through like the first hour of the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, but that'll be my last game that came out in 25 or 2025 that'll be beating this year.
Okay. And how do you feel like do you think Metal Gear Solid could beat out Expedition
No.
for any reason?
No. No.
I-
Uh
Is that because of the remake factor or because Expedition's so good?
I
Or a
mean
combination of both?
Expedition 33 is one of my favorite games of all time, and it's not even a genre that I typically play through or enjoy. Um,
Yeah.
it's one of the best narratives I have ever experienced in a game, and I will say it this way, not because it's satisfying, but because it is just so poignant. It hits very hard. I've never had a game's story hit me as hard emotionally as Expedition 33 did. And, that'll make more sense here shortly. But just kind of the themes of the story, the characters, it just really stuck with me. And also it helps that Um, the game runs pretty good for being Unreal Engine 5. Um, it's definitely not the best looking game from a technical perspective, but the art direction is absolutely stellar.
It
Um,
carries.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
the battle system is super addicting and super fun. Super flexible too, which a lot of games don't really do anymore. It feels like there's developers have gotten really good at setting like certain paths or like certain builds, but Expedition 33 lets you just completely break the game. Um, for example, um, so I'm a very stubborn person, and when I had started to try to parry early in the game, I failed miserably because you're early on in the game, and it's just how it is. So I didn't
yeah.
parry for like the entire game and only dodged.
Oh,
And I was
damn,
like looking
dude.
back on my playthrough, having seen some friends play it, and I was like, how did I do that? Like and so, um, yeah, so I didn't learn how to parry, like, for real until the post-game content, and I was like, "This is so great. This is so fire." Like, I can't believe I
Wow,
was missing it this
yeah.
whole time. Like, fights just took a lot longer, but the game across the board is really stellar. It's really rare to see a game that the developers just, know exactly what needs to go where and exactly what they need to focus on and what the game needs to succeed. So they cut around a lot of the extra stuff because like there's elements of the game. I think we talked about this last episode or something. There's elements
Yeah.
of the game that do feel pretty unpolished. Um, you know, cutscenes can be funky sometimes, although very well directed, very well acted. Um, you know, the platforming, although but they turn that into like funny like side content gameplay bits. Some of the
Yeah,
stuff in
it's
camp doesn't feel as high quality as like the cutscenes, but like it it, it it's the kind of thing in like this Expedition 33 as a whole. Like it does matter, but like it also um it feels additive. It feels like it was added on in
yeah,
like a
yeah.
but it doesn't feel like I don't want to say because this is kind of funky. I don't want to say that it doesn't matter because that side content and stuff is also very very cool, but like it does feel additive. It doesn't feel like it's a part of the core, and the core of the game is just so perfectly crafted. And I feel like it's very rare to see games like that that know what the core of the game is and focus on making that core as strong as humanly possible, and then the rest feels like extra, if that makes sense.
You know, this is gonna be kind of relevant to us here, but the last time I felt like that about a game and it actually mattered, probably and I never played it on release. I'm just saying this in like a retrospective
I think I know
form.
what you're gonna say.
World at War
Oh, I thought you were gonna say
2008.
I thought you were gonna say Cyberpunk. My bad.
I would Cyberpunk just feels
It
like
is
a
a very
lived
well-rounded
world
game.
to me.
Yeah,
It
that's yeah.
feels like people kind of just had a meeting every week and were like, be your own person in this city and create your own story inside of it. And that to
Yeah.
me feels complete, like a real
Yeah.
creative process.
But back to World at
But
War.
World of War 2008, just like if we only ever got Nocturne Toten out of World at War, I think this would be a perfect analogy because I don't World at War is important. World at War is important for what came afterwards, but you play especially sorry, Nocturne Toten. Nocturne Toten specifically, the zombies mode is important. But if you go back and play that World at War Nocturne Toten, it's interesting. If you get to like round 15, you're going to feel like a badass, but it's not something you're going to come back to the game for necessarily. I know saying that people is like technically wrong because yes, people kept coming back to play Knocked. I feel like in the same vein, people kept playing that the parkour sections because you have that what is it, getting over it or whatever
Yeah, yeah, the
type of
okay. I don't understand
spin
those
on it.
games of, like, games that are mechanically frustrating on purpose, but are very satisfying to master. It's not really my thing, but, like, it's so fun. It's so, so fun getting to, like, watch people do it, so, yeah, it was a fun little nod. Maybe one day I will, make myself suffer through it, but we'll see about
I
that.
I understand it from the perspective of like someone who also gets frustrated at those mechanics, but someone who, unlike myself, can better deal with that frustration and let it out in a more like humorous way. Whereas me, I just get fucking frustrated. I just start getting angry. So when I realized what the game was doing in Expedition 33, and I'm like, I respect it, but I just fucking fell after climbing for 4 minutes. I'm leaving. I'm going back to the real game. Oh, I can just leave?
Yeah,
I'm gonna do that. I think that was great. And I feel like it's similar to World at War. Obviously, probably not gonna lead to as many big things. We're probably not gonna getting over at Expedition 33,
no,
spinoff, but
no.
it it's interesting and it can definitely lead to like, listen, we've got this whole system that, we didn't really know what to do with early on, and maybe we implement it into either the next game or the next series or the next installment in the franchise, or we do something entirely else with like it's got something to it. Definitely. I wouldn't have spent those first 4 minutes dead set on getting to the top if it didn't have something going for it. If people wouldn't have, is there an end to it? Have we seen an end?
Yeah, no, there's an end
Or
to it.
d
You can, like, beat those
Okay.
sections.
Interesting. Interesting. See, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. I probably never will. If there's an achievement for it, I probably won't get platinum.
Fair enough.
I don't play those games. I don't play those games.
Speaking of a game you
Just
shouldn't play, Dead
oh,
Space 3. Not a fan.
interesting.
I uh I went to check back. I don't know if we talked about Dead Space 3 in the last episode. I feel like we might have touched on it. Okay. But yeah,
I
I
don't think we
finished it.
said anything.
I finished it after we recorded the last podcast. And then also finished It Takes Two. So finished both of those. Dead Space 3 is such an interesting game, and we'll talk about EA later, but Dead Space 3 is just so clearly a game that was mangled creatively. Like it's nothing like the tone is completely different. Like you can have sequels or whatever that feel like a very different mechanically or whatever the case may be, but I feel like tone is one of the most important things to maintain, but I feel like it can also be easily missed. Like Silent Hill 2, for example, the original Silent Hill 2 and the new remake are very two different games. They play very differently. I haven't finished the original, but I have finished the remake. But they do feel like they have that similar heart to it, the similar
Quick
themes, the
note:
similar tone,
Silent Hill 2 is on PlayStation Plus right now.
which is pretty
The
baller.
remake.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. I
Doesn't really
think
matter for me because
there's a
I bought it on release, but it's
yeah. I
great for
don't.
people who haven't played yet.
I'm. It is. I do have PlayStation Plus. I think I'm gonna start to cancel my subscription though, like I've tried to do before, because I've got other games lined up that I actually want to own. So, but it is cool. When I saw that, I was like, oh no, no, but cool, cool. So sorry.
Okay, I won't take any sound. I love the remake. I think it was stellar. It was one of my favorite games that I played last year. But I think that's the biggest sin of Dead Space 3 is that it completely betrays the tone. And when you are still following the character that you established in the first 2 games, and then you throw them into this new, like, super action shifted tone. The game has one of the most cringy written romances ever. It is laughably bad. It is laughably bad. It's super cringy. I did not like it. Uh, but there could still be redeeming qualities. Like the game looks fantastic. It's one of the best looking, like genuinely, one of the best looking 7th generation games. Like I can't believe that was made on the
Interesting.
360. Granted, it came out in 2013, so it was kind of at the very, very end. But the game looks phenomenal. I played it via a Series X backwards compatibility with 60 FPS boost. Game looks great and it plays great. But they also mangled the gameplay somehow. Um, it
Okay,
it
I'm looking
seems
at it
like
now. Yeah, it's
they
pretty
just
clean.
it seems like if they it just feels so poorly balanced. The enemies, it takes the annoying enemies from past games and it just feels like they took a slider and upped the intensity and didn't do anything else in between, and it just isn't fun. It's like, well, if we have a bunch of things on screen, it's gonna go great. No, it doesn't. It's just annoying. Like you get stun locked so frequently, and like I don't remember that happening very often in Dead Space 1 or Dead Space 2, and by Dead Space 1 I do mean the remake. Like there but in the times that you do, like you're like, "Oh, I screwed this up so bad." You're like, oh no," and you die and you're like, "Well, okay, I have an idea of how to go about it." Dead Space 3, you'll just get like stuck in a corner and you're like, "I can't press any buttons or move because this is so dumb and not working." Not to mention that they also thought it was a good idea to add shooting enemies at you in a
It what?
supposed so yeah, in a supposed you know in a game.
Like they shoot guns?
Yes, there are some necromorphs that shoot guns at you, which is so
I
stupid.
thought maybe they like flung stuff at you.
No, this isn't
Like
like, and it's not even like a Resident Evil 4 remake situation where there's like a turret and you have to like take them out. It's like no, you just have bullet enemies, which is so strange because that is not the strength. The third person shooting in that regard feels awful because the whole idea of it in 1 and 2 was supposed to be for very chaotic, but you also need to be precise to completely dismember the enemies, and that's how the combat system was built. But in 3, those enemies just feel awful. Like on top of the other enemies feeling like it's dialed up, like that system just does not work when it comes to those shooting enemies, and it just feels really bad, especially like near the end of the game where you are dealing with more of those encounters. It feels awful. It feels
yeah,
so
kind
bad.
of looks like a horde mode almost.
No, it's bad. It's not good. Like it's not good at all. And it sucks because there's a lot of really interesting ideas in the narrative, kind of having this whole idea of a suicide mission. Like other games have done it, of course. I think Mass Effect 2 is probably the one that comes to mind. Halo Reach also. Respect to our boys up in space. Um, but that kind of whole idea, and it works really well as you know the team is slowly kind of picked off. And it actually made for some really unexpected moments. Now, some of them are betrayed later in the game, but some of those moments like feel really good, and it feels at home with Dead Space because we already kind of saw that in Dead Space 1 for those of you who've played that, where your team slightly gets dwindled down. But 3 is really interesting because they know it's basically a suicide mission, but like um it just is tacked on with so many cliches. I don't know why they thought it was a good idea. Um but no, and honestly, I have wanted a new Dead Space game for a while, ever since I played the new Dead Space remake. I still want a 2 remake,
Yeah.
but I don't know if I would be excited anymore after seeing how Dead Space 3 was handled. If a Dead Space 4 would ever happen out of EA, I don't want to see it. If we get a Dead Space 4, it needs to be given to someone else because my lord, um, yeah, I've never seen a franchise or series betrayed as bad as Dead Space was. It is rough. I feel so bad for like that team, Glenn Schofield and all of them. Um, it just does not feel like the game they wanted to make. It feels like it's chasing, and it just does not. It does not. It feels like a lot of those aspects were just completely shoved in because they had to be, and none of it feels good. None of it. It's
Yeah.
tough. Every good thing they do just feels like completely betrayed from all the weird stuff that that game does.
And that's such a damn shame because that remake really is so good. Like I haven't platinumed it yet, but I've gone through it twice already. I've gone through it on like a normal difficulty and then like really hard. Amazing both times. Just
It is
downright phenomenal.
incredible. Also was one of my favorite games of 2023.
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty damn awesome. I played it right next to Resident Evil 4 and I can't compare the two because they're titans in their own right. I did really like I played Dead Space first, and I feel like that was a more novel experience for me because I had just gotten my PlayStation 5. I didn't have a PS4. I did when I was younger, but I hadn't had one up until that point. I was kind of a Switch guy and my computer didn't really run so well, so
I still think
I
it's one
wasn't
of the
really
best
gaming.
looking next gen games.
It's beautiful.
Oh my
It's
god,
beautiful. I
it's a stunning game.
I remember watching some like Digital Foundry videos on it when it came out, and the biggest problem was probably like artifacting in like darker areas because of some upscaling stuff, but I didn't notice. I played
No.
on I think my first playthrough was 60 FPS. My second playthrough was 30 FPS on a harder difficulty,
That
and
sounds like
I didn't see a
hell.
problem.
All right. All
It
right.
it wasn't.
I can't go back. I can't go down from 60 to 30. I just can't do it.
I think I'm at the point in my life where obviously I still notice the difference. It feels slower, but it does look better to me now. Like it does look like a higher resolution in my eyes.
All
And
right.
I benefit from that. I personally benefit from that. I do like going back up to 60. It feels good. It feels very good. And in a sense, it becomes clearer because you have more frames. But I don't know. I'm just not as affected by it as I used to be.
You're washed up, man.
Um,
You're getting old.
yeah, I'm getting real old. I'm not gonna mention it right now, but we talked about it before the podcast. I'm getting old, man.
No, well, I'm still in my
I'm
prime. I'm
getting
gonna enjoy
old.
that 60 FPS. Oh my
I'm only
goodness.
26. I'm supposed to be in my prime,
Nah, man. You're
but no.
I'm 22. I yeah, come on.
I feel like it's a little bit of a superpower because you talk about this and you're like some people don't even see the 30 to 60. And it's like I
Those
kind of
people
wish
are
I
liars.
was that. I I don't favor that
Mm.
conversation, but because people do. People simply do.
It
And if
is
those people
so
are
it
just
is
like
such an obvious difference. And like
the idea that people are being like no, I don't see a difference simply because they feel like they are lesser because they didn't know how to change it just seems absurd to me.
well, it's so
Like
funny too because for my experiences for people who didn't who like because most games I think default to that 30 FPS mode. I've caught my partner a couple of times playing some games. Like I think Jedi Fallen Order is one I remember most. And I was like, "Oh, you're playing at 30 FPS." It's like, "Oh well, there's like not really a difference." I turned it on for her, and she was like, whoa, this is so much smoother. Um, but like at the end of the day, like she's a person who doesn't really care about about the frame rate. Like I wish I was like that, but I do like to play games in like the best way that I can. I also like record a lot of gameplay too,
Of
so like
course.
um I guess I just have that YouTube brain in that way of like, well, I want to make sure this
Oh
like
yeah.
can look good on like a render. And 60 FPS like to me it just looks good even if there's like a resolution even if resolution is a little bit worse. Um I guess I just kind of think about the final product of that a little bit more. I mean, YouTube compression. I watch a lot of videos and stuff like that too. So yeah, FPS is always more important to me, and I notice that way more than I do resolution. I like having a good resolution. I like things to look good, but like if it's at the expense of frame rate, it's just not anywhere
Oh yeah.
near worth it to me.
If I had the chance or the option, like the option to upload specifically something like Cyberpunk in 4K 30 or 1080 60, I think that'd be a harder decision to make compared to uploading something like Call of Duty in 4K 30 or 1080p 60. Like, there's clearly a benefit from cranking up the resolution in Cyberpunk compared to Call of Duty, like, especially on YouTube, because YouTube often people are watching it on smaller screens and the resolution isn't that impactful unless, you're sitting at your desk or something, but which is a significant amount of people. But I remember I was playing Spider-Man 2 and I had been switching it from the 60 FPS mode to the 30 FPS mode and obviously noticing a difference. But when I showed my partner, someone who doesn't play games at all, she did notice. She did, but she didn't really she said she wasn't affected by it in any noticeable way. Like, it doesn't look better, it might look smoother, but it doesn't look any less, like, sharp than the other mode. It just doesn't really do anything for her. Specifically where she stopped seeing a difference is, like, the 60 to 120 because she's still got one of the, well, she's got a 16, which isn't an old iPhone, but the 17 now has the 120 hertz screen, and I showed her what that looks like on my
Oh
phone
man.
because I have that, and she doesn't see it. She's like, "It's not I don't I don't need that." I'm like, "Fair enough. That's good for you." Like I said, I almost want to be these people because they don't notice it. They don't care for it. They don't need to spend the extra $100 to get those extra FPS, but I do notice it. And a lot of the time, yes, I will, especially on YouTube, 60 FPS for video games and even like footage, like camera footage put next to video games is always going to be in 60 FPS. Like, I will never
Yeah.
raise the resolution and drop the FPS because of a video game. You might see some like a vlog, like one-off vlogs in 30 FPS, but that's for a cinematic experience. When people are watching
You
videos
see,
about video games,
I don't buy the whole idea of, oh, it's for a cinematic experience. I've never understood that with games because like the frame rate that like cinematic is like filmed at is it's 24 FPS, right? For like for movies? Like
for most, yeah.
yeah, so like we're I don't know. I've never gotten that argument. Um
I think
especially
it's
especially for games that do the 60 FPS gameplay mode, but like, oh, we want the cinematics to be, cinematic. Or it's like, well, you could just have those rendered in real time in the performance mode. Like it just it always just feels like kind of a I don't know. I've never been a huge fan of that. I wish that there were options, especially now, even on consoles. Like there are ways to do this. Mafia: The Old Country, for example, on PS5, cinematics, all 30 FPS, but it has a performance mode. But on PC, there is a 60 FPS cinematic toggle. So I think it's weird that we're at a point where some developers slash studios and companies are using certain excuses um to offer less choice. I'm not a huge fan of that because I feel like now where we have embraced the performance mode, we have embraced a lot of these accessibility features like turning off motion blur, film grain, all these kind of things, and some games are definitely better at delivering that than others. But it's weird seeing like certain like regressions where it's like, oh, we're just doing like cinematics and 30 FPS, but like what about when they were 60 and like they look like The Last of Us. Sony's great at that kind of stuff, but yeah, it's just it always is funky and it never has quite sat right with me. But
Yeah.
like I understand
I think
like the idea of it, but it just doesn't make sense with where we're at, especially when, from the outside looking in, like the option is right there.
yeah, I think it's more of just a practice, like a older practice that's stuck around. Um, because I think specifically on like PS4 and Xbox One, you're trying to crank those visuals. Like even if you do get that 60 FPS experience in gameplay, you can sort of control what you're looking at in a cutscene, and therefore you can crank the visuals and specifically tax out where you need it to be. Because hitting that 60 FPS is always going to be a lot harder. It's at least, I think it's like 3 times as hard to hit 60 FPS as it is to hit 30, because you have to go up like not just FPS, but response time as well has to go up. So it's always going to be way more difficult. So that 30 FPS leaves a ton of headroom for like graphical fidelity and resolution and whatnot. I think a lot of that has changed. I do think a lot of performance modes are serviceable enough to just carry over into their cutscenes. But for a lot of people like Warhorse Studios for KCD and KCD2, most machines can handle those KCD2 cutscenes at 60
It
FPS.
felt
At least
so
the
jarring.
consoles
Yeah, on
and
console.
PCs, but
Yeah.
they have a specific vision for that. And I think the for the people, when it comes down to artistic integrity, I think what a lot of it has to do is separating gameplay from the cutscenes, because gameplay is inherently more interactive. Cutscenes, you kind of want people to linger on them more. You want them to think about it more, because in game you're making decisions and asking questions and trying to sort of digest the story. When you're in a cutscene, you're kind of sort of just digesting the story. You might be asking questions, you're not really interacting, so you have a lot more room to play around with. And slowing that down for some people, I don't necessarily agree with this, but just to try and explain the mentality of forcing the viewer to watch each frame for longer might help enhance the experience somehow. I don't know. Like I said, I don't agree with it. I don't think it would work, but I do understand, like, coming from a typical movies in general are 24 FPS, and they've only been 24 FPS for like 60 years, maybe 70. Like a lot of movies before then were like 12, 15, 20 FPS, because it was hard to get to 24 FPS. That was difficult. But it became a standard because it was the most, you could get good quality, but it is also viewable. And you didn't really need to go much further than that. You could you wanted to focus on resolution because you could fill the frame with more. You have enough frames, you want to fill the frame with more information. And I feel like that mentality is still around because it's not just people who want to make video games who are writing these stories and making these cutscenes. It's people who want to write stories. People who have been in traditional sort of schoolings where this thought process is almost ingrained into you. Like, okay, 24, 30 FPS. This is cinematic. If you're not doing this, it's not cinematic. And that's sort of a detriment in this space. I will agree with you, but ultimately, I I don't know. I don't hate it. I do like when given the option, but I it is jarring going from 60 to 30. But personally, I don't think it's that big of a deal when, you know, games are $70 now and they don't really offer that much. And they I as great as KCD2 is, I think their 30 FPS cutscenes,
Oh,
and this
it's
may
so
just be me.
jarring, and it does
I
not. It's so strange, so
I
strange.
think they're at least personally way less impactful to the experience than having like DLC. Cuz while DLC is common nowadays, you released it like a few months after the game came out. That Why didn't you just wait for everything to be done? To me, that's a little bit more incoherent than someone being like, I have a vision for the cinematics, and this is what we need to do to achieve it. Than someone being like, I have a vision for the profits of this game, and this is what we need to do to. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Give us the DLC as either the base game or on top of the game as is. Don't make us wait for it. And as someone who didn't play it when it came out, I'm going to play all of it all at once. I just don't like that business practice because when it comes time to play a game similar to Spider-Man 2018, like people played that game right away, but then you came out with DLC for it. Like I get you've got more you want to show, but show us all of it at once. Like why not? Why not? Especially when it's so close. That KCD2 DLC was fast, way too fast for my liking. So I don't know. That again, cutscenes at 30 FPS are kind of aging out, but
One thing I definitely
I
want to
think
say
there are
about that, because
bigger
I'm not a
issues.
huge fan of it. I do think that some games pull it off better than others. But there's a lot of games like KCD2 specifically where it feels, and whether it be via direction, because a lot of the time, like if you're just having like a stationary shot and you just suddenly drop it to 30, it looks so bad. Silent Hill 2 remake also does this too, where um your in gameplay, there's like really smooth transitions. It's kind of in and out at times, and then it just drops, and it just looks bad. Like it, especially when they just have these arbitrary caps on the frame rate and have that like baked in, not even an option to turn it off. It just it it's just annoying. It's just annoying to me. I like consistency, and when I'm playing at 60 FPS being torn out of that gameplay, it's even more jarring going into a cutscene when they just drop the frame rate in half. So for me, it's kind of about consistency and keeping me, I guess, what word am I looking for? What? Oh my goodness,
Grounded.
invested, or just engaged, or whatever the case may be. More immersed. That's what I was looking for. It keeps me more
Okay.
immersed when the experience itself is consistent. I don't like this idea that people are like, oh, cutscenes tear you out of the experience. It's like, no, they are a part of the experience.
Hmm.
And it works for some games. I think some games get away with it better than others, but especially ones where you're kind of in and out of gameplay and they try to make those transitions be smooth. Dropping it to 30 is the worst thing you can do, and it looks bad, and it's very hard to make it look good. Um, but yeah, those are kind of just my thoughts on that.
I've got one last final point on that, just to expand. Like, I'm used to like not so much right now because I'm doing other things, but I love watching movies. When I moved into my apartment, I knew that I wasn't going to be doing much gaming, so I specifically took the time to catch up on my backlog list of movies, and I watched quite a few movies. And I think more interruptive to me than the 30 FPS during cutscenes, again, annoying as fuck, doesn't need to be there, can just be mostly done away with nowadays. I think is when movies specifically, like, they have like this aspect ratio change from scene to scene, and FPS changes. Like, certain movies will be filmed at 30 FPS and then they'll have 24 and then 12 and 15
It's
interspersed
strange.
into
It's
stuff.
yeah, it just looks
And
weird.
so that to me is also unnecessary, but more understandable from a sense like, okay, well, they were there at the day. If they recorded that in like 21:9 aspect ratio, they can't just change it in post without literally changing the aspect of what's in frame.
But
So it's
like,
gonna look
why
weird.
do that in the first place?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why not take the precautions to understand, like, okay, these shots are going to be in this sequence. Let's make sure that unless we're doing something artistically to change mid process to convey some sort of emotion, feeling, or like plot beat, let's make sure we're consistent shot for shot. But when movies are made, you don't necessarily get what was on the page. You might have to move a shot from somewhere else to be like, okay, we can't go back on the day. We can't just reshoot this. So we did get a shot of it in this aspect on this day. So let's try and recolor that. It's a bit more understandable when you can't change things after the fact. But when you're making a video game, that's almost all it is change, not changing things after the fact. You have the base and you're constantly iterating on that and up until the game comes out and even after that nowadays. So like they can make it work, no doubt. But I do think there is
It's just like a
sort of
weird modern oversight.
an older guard that's sort of just like this is how we did it. This is how you'll get it. So um yeah, I do think we've been spending a lot of time talking on what we've been playing and how it's made us feel, our gripes with it, but ultimately the main topic of this video, and we've been going on for so long that the last two topics we're not doing them. We're saving them for next episode. You'll get them, you'll see them, but we're not doing them right now. We have bigger pressing matters to talk about. This is actually kind of old news at this point. This was confirmed by EA on September 29th, but they have been bought out by not only a private investment firm, but a few other like helping hands. So obviously you have the private investment firm. There's also Silver Lake and Affinity involved in this. This is the biggest public buyout ever to have happened in human history. They're combining their funds in order to purchase EA, the American games company known as what do you know what EA stands for?
Electronic Arts? What? You don't
Yeah.
okay, alright. Moving on. It's
I knew that. I have bad memory, man. I'm fucking stupid. Anyways, um journalists broke this news beforehand, but EA obviously has since confirmed this that um a public investment firm from Saudi Arabia,
what
which
is
is
private?
essentially public, sorry. It's a public investment firm set
Private.
up by
Or the buyout, the EA is currently public, it's gonna go private.
yes. So EA is public. They're being bought out by a private entity, but the entity is called like a public investment firm, which
Yeah.
is used by the state, and the state in question is Saudi Arabia, where it essentially use its state funds to invest in public companies to try and further grow that state's wealth. Um, m- I'm not exactly sure how many countries have this. Most, not many. I'm not sure, but Saudi Arabia is one of the bigger ones. It's like the second biggest in the whole world, right behind Norway. So this is huge. And EA itself is a big company, not as big as something like Activision, but it's big and it's American, obviously. So a lot of people are seeing a bit of a conflict of interest in this. Um, it, it,
One thing I do want to add too is the deal isn't it wasn't like just bought and that's done. The deal is set to close in 2027, so there still is a lot of stuff that's unknown. Because we know that like what happened with Xbox buying Activision, it took a while.
yeah,
So there's still a lot of
there's
stuff
a
that's
lot
gonna
of
go
paperwork.
through, and there's still a lot of unknowns. But they did announce that's kind of what the current plan is, and that's what they're planning on doing, and that'll close in 2027.
Yeah, and we're gonna get a lot of information between now and then, a lot of quotes. If you watch, well, because it's being bought by privately. The Activision stuff was public, so maybe we won't get as much information. But if you remember when that whole fiasco happened, Xbox and Activision, you get a lot of funny quotes that if you look back on now is like, no, you're not. You lied, or that wasn't your intention, or that stuff that's not relitigated that probably will never be, and it's just like funny to see. Um, this is huge simply because of the amount of money involved, the amount of people and companies involved, um,
And
in the sort of
it's not a company acquiring a company. It is literally a country using uh yeah, it's basically just like a company or a country buying a
buying
US
up an
company.
American company, a
It's
US
very
company, and
it's very strange and very
there's a lot
weird.
of questions going into this, like why they would want to do this, or why specifically EA. And I, I think a lot of the consensus, at least from what we can tell right now, is essentially that they want to essentially diversify their portfolio. And this isn't the first time they've done this.
I know
They
they're
own
very
quite a
involved
few
with sports especially, and I think that was also
sports.
why EA does make sense too, like, FIFA, all that stuff. Like EA is easily the biggest like sports video game
Oh
company.
yeah, oh yeah, they make
But
all of everything.
yeah.
So, but they're already invested in video games themselves. They're the gaming branch of the Saudi wealth fund is essentially a company called Savvy Games. And Savvy Games Group owns quite a few uh uh titles, quite a few brands, and one of them just so happens to be the gaming division of Niantic. Now, if you don't know who Niantic is, Niantic makes Pokemon Go. So Saudi Arabia
2016,
basically
baby. What a great
already
time. Oh
owns
yeah.
Pokemon Go. Exactly. And obviously they want to make money. Obviously they want a greater influence on the markets that we already know that they exist in. But a lot of people are concerned about censorship, specifically because the Saudi prince Let me see if I'm getting this
They
right.
are
Mohammed bin Salam
comically evil.
is
Comically.
not only is he comically evil, but he's also a gamer, which I guess is sort of the same thing, but he is very well
Not the
known.
same thing. Oh my goodness.
It could be. It could be. You never know.
I think
I
it's so
mean,
funny. I mean, this is a little off topic, but it's so funny when comically evil people do very humanizing things. It's like, yeah, I was reading into this, and I think there was some, I can't remember what year it was, but they were like responsible for the death of a journalist, which is peak
yeah.
democracy behavior. I don't know. I don't want to divulge into that. I did not look super into it, but it's like, oh, but killed a journalist, but like, look it, I like games. I'm playing all these games. Just like when like Vladimir Putin, you see all these videos with like dogs. It's like, oh, he loves dogs. It's just, yeah, strange stuff. But
Yeah, they specifically the Saudi prince Mohammed bin Salam, specifically him and his team had a journalist killed named Jamal Khashoggi. They had in 2018 had him chopped up very graphically,
peak democracy,
killed,
guys.
and because he spoke out against their regime. We're not going to get much more in depth on that, but that is a huge topic of discussion for this. Not only is this man directly involved in silencing people's freedoms and eroding them, not just on like an American level, but on a basic human level, he doesn't respect human rights. On
No,
top of
not at
that,
all.
he also, we don't know for a fact, but it is presumed that his Steam profile is public and his shit is just as degenerate there as it is in his place of business. It looks like just degenerate anime shit. And I have no ill will towards anybody who plays porn games, hentai, any of that. Gamer's a gamer. But when you combine it with the amount of wealth this group of people have and the amount of evil things that they have done, a lot of people have a lot of questions about the direction in which EA will take after they are acquired by this private entity, and how essentially nobody can say anything about what they put out after they're acquired. Um, Toby, I want to know how you feel about this, where you think this will take them in the immediate and in the long run. Do you think this will even go through after the 2 years because it's still kind of up in the air? How do you feel about this?
I think at this point it's still like too early to tell. I don't really think that it's really going to do much of any harm, or maybe not harm, but I think that EA is probably just gonna keep do EA stuff. I mean, EA, for the record, has like never been great. They've been the laughing stock, or one of them, for the gaming community for I don't even know how long. Just controversy after controversy after controversy. They still put out good games every once in a while. I hear, Battlefield 6 and all that is really good. But I definitely think that we're gonna see a much more scaled back on anything that is not making money. This is going to be a very expensive deal, and I think I had saw that with the nature of this deal, it's like a private equity deal. I'm not a finance guy. I'm not going to pretend like I know what I'm talking about. But I believe they're going to be starting with like 20 billion in debt right off the gate. So
Mhm.
EA is gonna need to pay that back. Um, just kind of due to the nature the deal and how it works. So there's already a lot of speculation of like BioWare is probably toast. There's a good chance that there's a lot of IPs and maybe studios are going to be sold off. So it could be similar to kind of what we've seen groups like Embracer do, where they just buy up a bunch of stuff, and then a lot of studios and stuff just gets completely axed and mistreated. So I think there probably is going to be a race to the bottom at EA in terms of that. FIFA and all that stuff is going to be totally fine. The sports stuff, it seems like Battlefield, they're going to start trying to make that a yearly thing, which bad idea. Don't do that, but that's regardless.
Yeah,
But
no, no.
I think a lot of their other stuff,
Fuck,
particularly
I don't
single
even
player
want
stuff,
Call of
is
Duty to be yearly.
yeah, exactly. And it's probably just gonna be EA being even worse than they are, but like dialed up a little bit more. But what I'm interested in is someone by the name of Jared Kushner. Jared
Ah,
Kushner.
okay.
So
Can I specifically talk about like intentions for
yeah, go
what
for
I
it.
believe?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So obviously the Saudi Arabian government is that of a uh majority Muslim government. Um I don't think that, for people to be worried about like some sort of cultural takeover. I don't think it's gonna happen in the way they think it's gonna happen for a lot of people specifically. And maybe I'm not speaking to our audience. Maybe the people who come across us aren't gonna be the people who have this thought process. But I don't think Saudi Arabia is going to force EA to end wokeness in their company. I think the destruction is going to come from, and they've already said this pretty much, is that they are going to have a heavy focus on an AI production, getting as much in AI in so they don't have to pay as many people as possible. Like Toby said, a lot of this is going to be focused around generating money. Um, don't expect, your gay characters to be left out of the story. Expect your gay characters to be bland, lifeless, and basically gay with a sign on them that says gay. It's not going to be
I mean,
real.
some could
We're
already argue EA has already done that, but
definitely,
but
definitely.
I
But I think
digress.
that is a mentality that is going to be heightened. Like you said, with like the soccer games and the sports games are going to be okay. They're going to be okay in the sense that they're already okay. People
Yeah.
already aren't favoring these games year over year simply because of the regression that is happening within them in their loot box system, in their, or maybe not loot boxes so much anymore nowadays, but just in their the way they monetize their systems and the way they release content. People aren't favorable about it, and it's only going to get worse. I do think that there is going to be some form of like maybe some social manipulation in some aspects to try and push certain narratives, but no more than we already see today. Um Again, they owe some pretty powerful people some pretty big money, so they need to make it. And they already don't uphold a lot of their own personal values in their own state. They generally don't care about their religion when it comes to money, as most governments with religious backings do. They kind of just don't care at a certain point, because if they did, they wouldn't do a lot of the things that they already do in their own country. So I'm going to leave it at that. I don't think that the fall is going to come from some form of like social manipulation. It's going to be more of like a subconscious, like monetary thing. They're going to seep it in, and it's just going to erode the whole industry by proxy, essentially. But yeah, Jared Kushner, what do we have to hear about him?
Yeah, so this is the guy who founded Affinity Partners. And I'm
Mm,
going to
yep. That name has popped up in here. Affinity, one of the groups that is helping purchase EA. They're funding them.
Yes, it was a private equity
Is
firm he founded in early 2021, which is a big
mhm.
part of this EA deal. And a lot of the money that is from like Affinity Partners, it has a lot of Saudi funding, funnily enough. And specifically for Affinity Partners, it is to invest in American and Israeli companies. So we're already kind of expanding. We're already kind of expanding out here. But yes, this motherfucker right here is Trump's son-in-law. Is married to Ivanka. Um, really,
Okay.
really, the family tree goes deep. Um,
Mhm.
but even through that,
Just
already a
passing wealth
bit.
around in the family. I love it.
Yeah, a bit of a sketchy guy. His father was convicted for 18 criminal charges, including illegal campaign contributions, tax evasion, and witness tampering in 2005, but was pardoned, or some sort of pardon, by Trump in 2020. So already, not doing
Ah,
great things.
wow.
His
Good for
father,
him. Good for him, man. Like
who dare I say,
I fuck
also
up on
another
rent
thing as
and I go
well.
negative.
Another thing as well,
But
because I was interested in this too, because yes, Jared Kushner is not his father, Charles Kushner, but Charles Kushner is a part of the Trump cabinet right now. So really, just criminals supporting criminals, but for
criminal
Jared, for
sandwich.
Jared himself, because you know being married to a family doesn't necessarily make you involved, so to say. But we're already tied to one country that is doing very not great things, um, and is trying to diversify in that way. But this connection is really really strange to me, because Jared Kushner served in Trump's presidential cabinet. Like this is a person who is very heavily involved in politics in several different countries. Saudi money and Israel and the United States. It's just very weird. And I
Yeah, specifically
ugh,
from the group of people who are vehemently, quite literally attacking people, telling them that, no, I want to put America first. But y- how is Israel, in any way, regardless of what you think about it, putting America first? Most Americans, most people can't point out Israel on a map. Maybe that's changed recently, but what is it's hypocrisy at its finest, and it's so loud, it's so apparent. The jar is so sticky and the trail is so clear. I like, even if you disagree with us politically, you have to be able to just step back and be like, they're lying. They're just lying. I don't believe any of
and
it.
the thing,
But
especially with the way the U.S. works, when we are in such a late stage form of capitalism, where monopolies are
the
not being
lack of
broken up and they're
regulation.
being actively encouraged, and we're seeing all these
Yeah.
consolidations. A lot of people, especially those who tend to lean more conservative, see businesses as almost a check on government power. But I think we forget that they are both two sides of the same coin. Either one, it'll government, if they get too much power, they start to oppress for that power. Power seeking behaviors. But for companies, it's money seeking. Both of them are bad. They are two sides
Mhm.
of the same coin. And when you have both of those coming together and are actively working together, that is like worst case scenario. There are no checks, there are no balances. It is bad for you, it is bad for me, it's bad for everyone who is not actively involved in the fucking Ponzi scheme. Like it's just not good. Also, Kushner advised Trump Also, I'm getting just these facts on Wikipedia. Shout out Wikipedia. Um, Kushner advised Trump that the media was exaggerating the dangers of the coronavirus outbreak. Like, it's just the more I like looked into it because I was curious of that name. I saw he was involved, and I'm like, okay, let's kind of see. And I wasn't expecting it to be, so heavily like, oh, he's just involved. This isn't like a proxy. No, he has actively worked with these people. He has actively been involved, and it's just very very sketchy. It's not good. Um, I
Yeah.
don't I and
I
especially when it comes to entertainment, states states the power of a state should have absolutely no say in entertainment. It's weird. There are a couple of like exceptions because I want to be very clear. Shout out PBS. Like educational stuff,
yes,
I think that's great.
huge. I love
Educational stuff,
PBS.
I think it is
It's
very,
amazing.
yeah, it's very different when it's yeah, PBS is, but like when we're just investing in
But they're
companies,
being defunded right now. Like
yeah.
they're
But the thing is
the
like those
exact
are,
thing that most people want them to be involved in that actually helps. That not just like, oh, I feel like it helps. It we literally know and have done studies that it helps. We're gonna get away from this thing and actively focus on the things that make it worse for us
yeah.
as a
But the
society.
thing that makes PBS different
Good
is
on you.
one,
Cool.
it is focused on education,
Hmm.
and that is like kind of, PBS is just, PBS. It had like a very specific goal, a very specific thing it was oriented towards, which is
A very
different.
strong structure too, because I feel like the
Yeah,
lack of funding has everything to do with the people at PBS not doing what the administration wanted them to do. I feel like
and
that is exactly why they're in the position they're in now. It's because they
and
just said no.
but when it comes to like, entertainment and, for us, like gaming hits a little bit different, but like it's just I I don't want and that's why a lot of like Chinese companies are so controversial when they start buying stuff up because, China does have again some sketchy laws in that regard, and there are concerns about conflict of interest. It is the exact same thing here. I don't like that there is, double standards when one country can do it and it's bad, and another it's like not really like super acknowledged. I've honestly been surprised because a lot of people, and I think it's because EA is already kind of not a company a lot of people are a huge fan of, but because it's EA, it's like, oh well, this isn't, this sucks. But like EA could be so much better. They have so many phenomenal IPs they've done nothing with. Like,
Oh yeah.
I don't know how. I'm sure we'll get into the Star Wars Jedi trilogy, but like,
Okay.
Titanfall probably, we won't see again.
Titanfall. That's
I mean, Dead Space is another example, although EA floundered that a long time ago. But like, what about
Battlefield.
the EA Battlefield or the EA Originals
I was
program that like Hazelight has been doing? We've gotten like It Takes Two, like Split Fiction. Like, I
uh what is that? Uh Avium or something? Like
Immortals of
the
Avium,
FPS Immortals of Avium. Yes. I heard that one was pretty cool.
but like, I EA, yes, they've not been a good company for a very long time and they suck. Like EA just straight up sucks. But like they have so much cultural, relevance. They have so much a great IP under their belt, and this is a threat to all of that. Like it's not just, oh, EA's bad, EA's just doing, EA things again, but it's so much more of like, um they were most likely bought for their cultural relevance, but like, their cultural relevance is important. Like they've made a lot of really cool stuff, and to kind of I don't like seeing
It's
the sketchy state behavior, and, you know, it's just I'm not a huge fan of it, especially I mean, and this is just kind of a double whammy too. You have someone who's very involved, um, and is a part of, of you know, the Trump family who, um, I mean, there's just so much that we could get
yeah,
into that,
and
but
I'm
and
not
the Saudis.
necessarily like concerned with Saudi Arabia taking over EA indefinitely and completely changing the
Yeah, I don't
culture
think it's
and
as
how they
cut and
affect
dry
media.
and dry like that because, you know, I
This is
yeah,
they are willing to sell. They are willing to redistribute what they've bought. This is why I said earlier that they're not necessarily the most morally consistent on what they believe, not just because of their own laws, but because they they dislike the US. They dislike Westerners in a lot of ways dealing with political and cultural and religious reasons, but they will still sell us a ton of oil. They will still sell us things that benefit us indefinitely. Eh, So the thought that EA is gone forever only exists in concept, but I feel like the EA, everybody has a different idea of what EA is. Like personally, I never you might be able to name a few EA games that I grew up with, like that was my childhood. But EA to me now is a couple of sports games, a couple of it's don't they own Respawn? Apex Legends, like that kind of stuff. I not like Ubisoft is more important to me than EA. Like, and they haven't really done all that great recently either,
yeah.
especially with their cancellation of that dope ass fucking Assassin's Creed game. Thinking about it more, maybe Ubisoft of today wasn't well equipped to tell a story like that. Maybe it should have been
But the
left up
concept
to a
was so
different
cool. Do you wanna
studio.
for those of
Concept
everyone
was
who
so dope.
yeah, you wanna
Just
tell them what it
quickly
was?
because this is this is getting a lengthy video. Assassin's Creed, the people over at Ubisoft, after Shadows, wanted to pursue a game, I believe in like the 1850s, 60s, 70s, that talked about America after the Civil War,
In the Reconstruction era.
essentially Reconstruction era, where slaves still did exist. The word hadn't gotten out around the whole country yet. Sharecroppers existed next to slavers, and you would have played as an ex-slave dealing with KKK, Klansmen, and
Sounds
the
so
like.
cool. I may have actually gotten
And
an Assassin's Creed game.
it does sound very dope for the simple fact that you get to kill those people like without consequence most likely, but I thought about it. Ubisoft, I don't know. I liked Assassin's Creed Odyssey for the story for the first 30 hours, but that bitch has like 130 more hours and I'm not up for it. Maybe that game is pretty old now. I think it came out like 10 or 11 years ago maybe. I don't know. But ultimately, they're a different company now, but I just I probably would have got it. I probably would have played it, but would I have like rated it well? Maybe not. Would I have had like actual serious problems that might have sparked beneficial, creative, and like actual progressive conversations? Sure. But I don't know. I don't think Ubisoft deserves that. I don't think they deserve that W. I think they need to work for it. Especially after they threw down their get out of jail free card with their Assassin's Creed in Japan. Like they finally gave us that after over a decade
Too
being
little,
asked
too
for it.
late.
And in the whole, they presented to us. and the hole's so dark and dingy now, like, I guess I'll go down there and grab it. I guess I'll yeah, I'll tell you how I feel about this. Sure. Yeah, no, I can't even think of a studio that would be capable of creating both gameplay the same way that Assassin's Creed does, but also a story. I'm thinking of a story as intelligent and mature and funny as Red Dead Redemption 2. Obviously, high bar, but that's what we kind of deserve from a game like that at least. At least. Like yeah, I don't know. I just there's a lot of disappointment going around right now even though there are still a lot of good games coming out, but EA EA is in a transitional period right now. They might be bought out, they might not be, but the people they're being bought out by are not good people. So much so
Governments
that
owning companies is bad,
yeah,
especially
um,
companies that
you
are,
talked
yeah, it's just strange.
sorry, go ahead.
Just the whole idea of the whole idea of governments being so heavily involved in companies that are profit driven is just bad. It's just like there's it's just not good. I
Yeah,
really don't really have anything else to say. I don't think it's a really crazy take. I don't want countries and governments involved in the media that I consume. I want them to be headed by artists, by creatives, not by people who, because I mean, we already have companies that are EA was profit driven, like they were profit driven, but it was for a different reason. To diversify a country's income, a country for that matter, it'd be bad if anyone did it, but like for a country that is committing literal crimes against humanity, it's just the
yes.
things people will do for money continues to astonish me, but I'm not surprised.
Obviously, countries have interests outside of helping, protecting, and maintaining their own citizens. Obviously, I don't think that they should be much more than that. I don't think a lot of my I look like my nose is bleeding for a second. Jesus. Um I don't think that companies or sorry, governments should be interested in much more unless it's like creating allies or whatever, but I do think a big part of what like what you said earlier, the same side or two different sides of the same coin, business and government, I think what weighs down that relationship is always going to be capitalism. It's always going to be interested in profit over
That's the problem, yeah.
humanity. And you may be thinking like, what is this kid talking about? He doesn't understand life. He doesn't understand
That's
big
not a kid,
business.
that is a 26-year-old man right there.
I still the ignorance of an older generation is none to be scoffed at. You have to understand that
You have a
I'm still a
son,
kid to
Melly, you
these
have a
people.
son.
But in
I
context,
get what you mean.
from their
Yeah.
perspective, I'm a child. And they will just simply say you don't understand, but I'd say the same to them. Why are we focusing on profit over humans when humans are the ones who generally benefit from profit? And don't you feel good when you profit? Don't you want other people to feel good? Oh, you don't want other people to feel good? You're a bad person. In order to have a better society, we need to make sure that you understand that that is bad. That is a bad outlook. Because if we continue on that route, there will be nobody left to even think, let alone have that opinion. So we must come together to sustain ourselves. Because you get to, maybe I don't get into this, but like there are powers that be AI companies, huge firms that are literally just saying, I don't want to deal with customers. I don't want to deal with humans. I want an AI world where I'm interacting with AI and selling and buying. And why do humans even need to exist? It's like, what are you saying?
It's all imaginary.
What do you
Like
exactly?
all of the capital
And these
there
are
is
people with
all
an
hypothetical.
insane amount of money.
Exactly.
That's
It's
that's another
ridiculous.
reason why I don't think this is good for people because that number does just get so high. No ethical billionaires exist. So that number getting
What
so
about an
high,
ethical trillionaire?
deluding
Come on.
people.
We can have an ethical trillionaire. Come on. Nothing wrong with that.
If y- I will say, if you put in the work, if you have the chest as Elon does to deal with that much wealth, I'll give you a pass. I'll give you a pass. Cause like, no, no. It's it's really just it's a trillion. And that's not even unlikely anymore. $1 trillion. I couldn't even count up how many zeros that was before I started speaking again.
It's
A
a lot of zeros.
$1 trillion is an insane amount of money. It is the biggest wealth disparity in human history ever, I think. Wasn't there like I feel like it was could be getting this wrong. Mansa Musa or something who was like the richest man in the world or who had like the most access to gold at one point. Elon Musk is richer than him. Elon Musk has more wealth than his country of origin, which has tens of millions of people inside of it. It's not even like specifically Elon Musk because people are tired of just talking about him and his autistic shenanigans. But well, that's what people say. That's what his supporters say. He's an autistic goofball.
No
Look at
comment.
him.
No comment.
Listen, Toby, comedy's legal again. I can say whatever the
No,
fuck
it's
I
not. No,
want.
it's not. They lied about that too.
No, comedy is legal. Comedy legal. Just as Elon Musk said. Comedy legal. Um, yeah, no, I don't. I love that we were able to talk about this because I've been kind of like contemplating, do we get political on here? Do we speak our minds?
There's no
Yes.
reason to shy
Of
away
course
from
we
it.
do. Of course we
We
do.
live
Free
in
Palestine, no
yeah,
ethical billionaires,
yeah.
some ethical trillionaires,
No.
as we've discussed, but it's not going to be the mainstay. We're here to talk about video games. We're here to enjoy our
But
time
unfortunately,
and to get away from this stuff.
what people refuse to acknowledge, and I hate this argument. I'm sorry, but games are political. Games are made by people who have thoughts and
Mm-hmm.
beliefs. And a lot of these people love games like BioShock, which is so political.
Mm-hmm.
Fallout, also extremely political. I mean, we could
Like,
go down the line. Even like Resident Evil is super anti like I'm trying to find a way to frame this. Um I mean evil like the series deals with evil corporations doing things
it
in ways of profit that end up resulting in human atrocities. Like games
in a in
have
a
political themes.
in a mundane way, I'd say Resident Evil promotes you asking your coworkers about their wage. Essentially, is like, don't let this corporation just say whatever the fuck they want. Don't let them just there is no war in bossing say to us. Fucking speak up. Speak the fuck up.
uh,
What is happening?
yeah.
Yeah,
What a
I
time we
do
live in.
think that's why I love the concept of this podcast and filling it in as we go and creating a community outreach, people who can talk and discuss with each other. I have hopes and dreams of a sterile no NSFW Discord, okay? I wanna be able to talk to you motherfuckers. I wanna grab a whole fucking lot of you and not just talk about video games, but help you through video games, help you through life, and just be able to distract you from all of this stuff. So while we will talk about these things when they come up, as the EA acquisition does, and we'll continue to talk about this as we learn more, sporadically, this should be a place to where you can freely talk about, your opinion, but also get away from the excess shit that is just sort of getting you down and yucking your yums. This, I like this. I like having a community and like outreach and like just help from people, whether it be small, big, whatever. I appreciate it.
Well said. Yeah. Well said.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're getting a bit long in the tooth here. That's how you say that, right?
Long in the tooth.
Yeah.
Probably should
Yeah.
wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
Let's wrap
Yep,
it up.
that's what my mama tells me.
I mean,
Let's get her
I
done.
think everything we just said was basically closing thoughts. Yeah. Again, I don't really have anything to add. I mean, you hosted today, so should I end it off with the saying that you created all those months ago?
I remember it now. You
You
can go
do.
for it though.
Yeah. Uh I still can't get over oh, you say it, I'm getting shy.
Game on.